Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
Yeah, here we go again.
Screwed up again. You know what? I can't wait for the end of 2021. Yeah. So we can talk about the bloopers or the screw ups that we've done, because I screwed up this year, I think, more than last year.
We're not even through January. Yeah, and you've not hit that record button quite often so far. But hey, before we get started with the takeaway, therollradio.com/belt. Go there, take a survey. Do you wash your belt? And you are automatically enrolled to win a free Fuji gi. So super cool, super easy. And who doesn't need more gis hanging in their closet?
It's free. I mean, if you have to pay for one, that's a different conversation, but it's free and it's high quality. Anyhow, go get yourself a free gi or enter into the tally that we like. The cool stuff is that we keep actually the results of the votes on the website. Yes, so go and check it out. I keep an eye on it, and every week it keeps changing. It's interesting how it sways one and the other way. All of our guests and the listeners, all the votes are there. So go to the site. What's the link again, Gary?
therollradio.com/belt.
All right.
All right.
Let's talk about Rafael Costa. The takeaway from conversation with him. What an interesting personality. I've personally met Rafael, let's see, about 10 years ago at the tournament. I had a pleasure to face him at the IBJJF that was at the brown belt. We were brown belts back then. And what a tough dude. But he talks about...
He must have been like a teenager back then.
No, I don't think he was a teenager.
Well, guessing by your age, he must have been. He had to have been.
No, I think he was in his 20s.
I'm making old jokes about you. That's
well, listen, it wasn't funny. I didn't get it. It wasn't funny. Nobody's
because
laughing.
You're so old. I'm laughing. That's all that matters.
No, but I do remember that. I don't know how old he was, but I was masters, and I competed at adults that tournament, and he gave me a run for the money, that's for sure. But what's interesting about a conversation with him, he talks about different opportunities to learn. He talks about his life, obviously, but it kind of shifts in this interesting topic of how people learn today and how they used to learn way back when he was starting jiu-jitsu and he played soccer. If you don't know who Rafael is, he used to play soccer almost professionally. All right, or was it professionally? He was on his way to pro, right?
It was pros, but it was like the minor leagues over in Europe. So yeah, but it was definitely pro. He was paid. He was a paid professional soccer player.
Yeah, and then he switches to jiu-jitsu. Interesting. What's your take on the opportunities to learn? Jiu-jitsu or non-jiu-jitsu, just in general, how do you structure your learning curve?
It depends on what I'm learning and what I'm learning it for, the importance of it, I guess. If it's something that I'm learning just for fun, it's no big deal. That's going to be drastically different than if it's something that I'm taking more seriously or feel is real important. But I think, some of the things he talked about, really hit home because in the past year, I think my training has changed quite a bit, and the things he was talking about was like taking advantage of all the opportunities you have, and keeping those opportunities separate and using them specifically, strategically, and that's everything from drilling, private lessons, group classes, and other things, and incorporating them all in strategically into what you're learning.
Yeah, and I think that's you hit a nail right there, right in the head. Right? It's like if last year 2020 sucked. Let's just be honest. And especially if you're in jiu-jitsu, doing jiu-jitsu, if that's part of your passion or even maybe a profession, it sucked. Whether gym or academy where you train likely was closed. Even if it was open, it's very limited. Your half of your training partners might be gone. Very difficult circumstances. And I think it is so easy for us to give up in a sense of, there's no point.
Mhm.
There's just no point. I used to train 6 times a week, twice a day. I used to be in shape and all of this. And now, boom, I can only train twice or maybe once or maybe 3 times. Whatever the case is, there's significantly lower percentage of training opportunities, if you can train at all. And it's so easy to give up. And I think with Rafael, his approach, and I completely agree with this, it is finding a strategic ways um, to improve
Mhm.
with the lower volume of what you're trying to achieve. Whether it's jujitsu or something else, it doesn't really matter. It's just mechanics, I think, or principles of learning, right? I mean, we have so many ways of learning today. And he did talk about that too. Way back 20 years ago when I was starting, there was no jujitsu. There was no YouTube. I'm sorry. There
Mhm.
was a couple books, and you can read them only so much. Everything was your entire learning curve was taking place on the mat, essentially.
Yeah, you had some VHS videos, and then you were on the mat. And I think what's interesting about somebody like Rafael is if you look at the level he's at right now, teaching at an amazing one of the the most well respected, largest academies possibly in the world, and then he's got his own place too. But he is still going on Instagram. He's still going on YouTube to find people that he respects and to learn from them. Yeah, so I mean, things have definitely changed, but somebody like Rafael has changed with it. He didn't stop when he got his black belt, or um, he knows that there's still a lot of stuff out there for him to learn.
Well, it's not only that. First of all, as black belts or as a higher, deeper into the journey you are, more you understand that this is ongoing process. Even if you acquire a large amount of knowledge at this point and you have some experience and you have opportunities to teach, you still should continue exploring and evolving your jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's in my opinion, unquestionable fact. Um, but I think beyond all of this, what's interesting is that, um, for individuals who are not at that level, who are just starting the journey, with a white or blue or purple belt, maybe, it is difficult to fulfill that need to be on the mat, be at the academy, continue learning, especially when the obstacles arise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, COVID could be one of them, but injuries could be another one. That's a big obstacle, and finding ways how you can continue stimulating yourself and continue learning. It is very important, and very often those strategies, those alternative strategies, are very different to what you're used to, and by not they might not seem like you're making any progress, but I think it's important to venture into things like, well, let's talk about that for a moment. Opportunities to train. How do what kind of opportunities do we have to train, right? I mean, we obviously have classes, right?
Yeah.
Normal standard classes. Then there was a sparring sessions, right?
Yep.
What are
Drilling sessions,
drilling
private
sessions,
lessons.
private
Yeah.
lessons, right? Private, semi-private lessons or small groups, a little bit more focus. Then we have seminars,
Yep.
right? Seminars or workshops, slightly different platform, similar to class, but slightly different. What else do we have? Is there anything else?
Well, I mean, and then outside the academy, you've got your YouTube, your Instagram, all that stuff, instructional videos.
Right, a little bit more strategic learning. Maybe not necessarily being able to practice them hands-on, but you can visually learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like watching matches, even competition matches, right? You can watch the competitors that you like to follow and see what they do and all that, all of that. So we mentioned what, 6, 7, 8 of them,
Mm-hmm.
different ways, and some of them are not accessible to everybody. Let's be honest about this. Private lessons sometimes are not cheap, and that's is a financial investment on the part of the student. Same similar with seminars,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like you know I'll argue that a little bit because we'll go to dinner with our family, and I'm not telling anybody not to go to dinner with family, but I'm saying sometimes we are a little bit, our wallets are a little light when we go to these things, and
Mhm.
we drop significant amount of money, and then like the question is, where
Well, it's
does those
where
funds
your
go, right?
priorities.
What's the priority,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
there are some students that I know that they don't care about dinners, they don't care about buying fancy clothes or shoes or watches or other things, and they redirect their money into their own education and jujitsu, right? And I'm not saying that that's for everybody, but there is that happy balance somewhere where you can benefit from most of these
Yeah.
mediums or most of these
Sure.
vehicles to
Yeah.
learn, right? And more of them you dip into, more you're going to benefit.
Yeah. If you do it right, I mean,
Hmm.
there's a chance. There's definitely potential for overload. Um, but yeah, it's about your priorities, and do you want, how dedicated you are to learning jujitsu. Um, and that doesn't, just because somebody's more dedicated or it looks that way doesn't mean what you're doing is a negative. That's just what you're looking to get out of it, right? um, and I think that when you have all these opportunities, you should really, we talked about strategy before, you should really look at them as a group and then start trying to pick out what works for you. Sample a little bit of everything,
Hmm.
and then figure out what works for you, and then that's what you continue with. I know for me, I go to, and this is, I think this is for, like, I would say 75% of the population. You go to a jujitsu seminar and it's like, especially if it's like a 2-hour seminar, 30 minutes in, you're like, yeah, this is great, I'm learning so much. And then after, an hour and 45 minutes, you're like, I forgot everything.
Oh my God.
I don't know what's going on. What happened to me today?
I
Uh,
can't stress this enough. Make notes.
yeah.
Make notes. Like it's just like for me, it's like pounding at that horse by now. Make notes. Every jiu-jitsu student should have a notebook.
Yeah.
Average, whatever. Even if you write down 2 words per instruction, those are
Hmm.
key words. They're gonna bring back the key components of what you did, of what you
Yeah.
are doing at that moment.
Right.
It is so important. And then if those seminars are recorded, oh my God, you should be watching them and analyzing them literally weeks following
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
event. Like it is so important for
Yeah,
the
and even
retention.
if you didn't bring a notebook or the things aren't being recorded, just try and take away one thing that you didn't
Mhm.
know before, and put that in your back pocket, and learn from that, learn off of that. You're going to figure out why it's so important. But
So here's what I used to do, or what we used to would do with my training partners back in the day. We always paired up like either 3 or 4 guys that we were at the seminars, and each of us was trying to remember one technique. And hopefully we always took away more than that. But the point was that we were focusing on one, and then for weeks following that event, we got back together, and everybody was trying to recreate the scenarios with the hope of maximizing our takeaway. I mean,
uh,
that's what we were doing. Now, way back in the day, in the white belt and blue belt age, we messed up more than we learned, but
yeah,
it
I'm
just
thinking that'd be too much pressure for me.
but listen, it's a strategic approach, right? It's all about maximizing your return, essentially, on return on investments, right? I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's like you have these opportunities to not only meet these instructors at the events, but also, I mean, are you there for social stimulation, if or you're really there to learn something from that individual? So I think seminars are great. I mean, I love. I'm a huge fan of seminars. As long as you have strategic approach to really learn something from them. You know.
Yeah, I think so. And even if it's stuff that's, you go to a seminar and, you're a white belt and it's some crazy, X guard thing, there's still going to be something you can take away from it. And then, down the road, when X guard does come back into your life, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I remember this from, a year ago or whatever,
Hmm.
and incorporate it,
Oh, you
Um,
have no idea how many times that happened to me. Like it's so true. Like a year or two or even 5 years later, you're like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this. Boom, light bulb goes off.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there's always I don't think that ever changes or stops if you approach things with an open mind. This is gonna kind of backtrack a little bit, but talking to Rafael, this is COVID hits. This guy's a high level competitor. He gets a couple competitions in the beginning of 2020, and then COVID hits and everything gets shut down, and he looks at it as an opportunity uh, to train harder because he knows that he's thinking later in the year, the end of the year, there's going to be more tournaments, and I'm not going to try. When they announce the tournaments, that's not when I'm going to start training for them. I'm training for them now.
Mm-hmm.
And what did he do? Is he went back and looked at stuff. He's got some amazing people that he trains with. That he was like, you know what? Let's keep it small. Let's keep it safe. Let's keep working together. Let's keep training. Let's keep learning, so that when things open back up, we could even be ahead of the game a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's important too. Is that with all these different setbacks that you talked about, you can still find ways to improve no matter what. Not just talking about jujitsu, but anytime there's a setback, there's a way around it. There's a way over it to figure out a way in which you can improve and you can learn. There's no reason
Yeah,
to stop.
yeah. I had just a story came to my mind. This was probably 10 years ago or so. A friend of mine from jiu-jitsu had a shoulder injury, and he ended up having a surgery on his shoulder. And as you can imagine, he's done. I mean, I don't know, remember how long he was out for, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it was 4 to 6 months. Done, no jiu-jitsu. So, but here's the interesting part. You saw him at the gym in a cast
Yeah.
every single day. And what was he doing? He was doing leg exercises, leg drills. I mean, anything from squats to presses to even circles to single legs. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like he was there every single day just working at it because he and like once I asked him, he's like, "What are you doing?" I would just go home, and he goes like, "No, dude, I'm gonna come back. This is gonna be much easier. I don't have to do this anymore. I'm gonna be done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can focus on the other side." So I mean, that talk about strategic approach.
Yeah, he adapted, right? He couldn't do one thing, so he did something else, and probably, is now way better at those particular things than he
Hmm.
was, prior to his injury. So he didn't let it hold him back, and he kept learning the whole time. It's important, when I first started 3 months into it, I hurt my knee, and I knew that if I didn't keep coming, to the gym just to sit and watch, take notes, and keep learning, that I probably quit, because it was so early in, uh, and uh, and I did, and I kept learning the whole time too, and I feel like anytime, I've had a couple other injuries since then. They've been, nothing serious, but they keep you off the mat for a week or two or even three, and keep going and sitting on the edge of the mat, take some notes. You can keep learning. You learn different things. It's a different perspective. Those same things that you talked about watching matches. Well,
Hmm.
you've got one right in front of you, right? And sit down, watch, learn what people are doing. You might even see, oh, that's the guy that used to put the hammer to me all the time, and now I see how. I just
Hmm.
learned a little something, and I'm gonna tuck that away and use it later. So yeah, there's no reason to stop.
As long as you're smart about it,
Oh, that leaves me
keep.
out then. Never mind, I take back everything I said.
This is a perfect moment to end this right there. Listen, the bottom line is this: obstacles will always arise. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're thinking your jiu-jitsu journey is smooth and nothing will ever happen, and you're gonna have no injuries, maybe so, but there'll be other things in your life that will gonna stop you or could give you a reason not to show up, not to come. The point is we have to continue working around it, and we have to find ways to continue this.
Yeah,
It's just like education, it's just like anything else. You can find other ways to get better while you are unable to do what you do every single day, and then once you're back, boom, you didn't skip a beat, right? So
yeah, and
be
apply it
smart
to
about it. I can't
be
stress this
smart.
enough.
Apply it to the other aspects of your life. It doesn't have to pertain to just on the mat. Whether it's anything, learning how to be a better parent, learning how to be a cook, learning how to be better at whatever your particular job is. There's always room for improvement, and there's always a way to improve. Nobody knows everything about anything. Nobody.
Couldn't agree more. We got some awesome guests lined up in the very near future. I'm excited about this. So obviously we won't tell you who it is. You have to tune in.
Keep listening. Keep listening and keep listening for that Fuji giveaway. It's coming. The first one's coming up, like we said. Check it out. It's therollradio.com/belt. Super easy. And you're going to look sharp in your brand new Fuji gi. Right? For the new year.
That's it.
All right.
All right.
Are we
Off to the next one.
All right, sir. I'll see you. Peace.
All right. Later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.